I tell people I bleed purple. As a player, you can't find a better city to play in than here. It's because of the fans.
I just remember that dome just rocking. Just felt like being shot out of a gun when they called us. You could just feel the place moving.
Go purple!
It's never been like that anywhere else.
This is football, this is pure football. You know, this is the old style football.
Hurts a little, huh?
We were better than everybody thought we were.
I don't believe it!
We were better than what Bud told us we were.
Jim Marshall, Carl Eller, Alan Page, Fran Tarkenton, Chuck Foreman.
These are tough, honest players.
Just to be part of that legacy makes it special.
I think we did a pretty solid job of perpetuating that tradition.
Just really get to play with some great guys and become lifelong friends.
We played so hard for each other because we all liked each other. You're going on the field with your family, basically. That's the most memorable part of being on the purple.
Look around, fellas. This is it, huh? This is all we got. We got each other.
It has been a wonderful, wonderful 50 years.
I thank the Lord all the time for giving me the opportunity to be here in Minnesota.
In 1960, Minneapolis businessman and sports enthusiast Max Winter headed a group that brought an NFL expansion team to the Twin Cities to begin play in the fall of 1961. The team's home would be Metropolitan Stadium in suburban Bloomington. Its coach would come from the players' ranks. In 1960, Philadelphia took on Vince Lombardi's Green Bay Packers for the NFL title. Eagles quarterback Norm Van Brocklin led Philadelphia to the championship, the only playoff game Vince Lombardi ever lost. Several months later, the Dutchman was introduced as the first head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. The first wave of Vikings arrived in the expansion draft, most notably future Hall of Fame running back Hugh McElhenney, who still had a few good moves.
First day I was here with Norm Van Brocklin, I had just come in and they were out at practice. And he looked over at the guy and said, "Hey, you're out of here. Marshall, go in there and get some stuff on. You got this position." And I'm going, whoa, what kind of guy am I going to work for now, you know?
Tulane's All-American halfback Tommy Mason was the team's very first draft pick and the first overall selection in the 1961 College Player Lottery.
You know, everybody got the questionnaires that this team sent out to various college people. I got a Viking inquiry one day, and it said, Minnesota Vikings, Minnesota Vikings. And somebody said, well, that's in the seven-man league, in the old Midwest seven-man league. Nobody knew who the Vikings were.
Round 3 produced a quarterback from Georgia by the name of Francis Asbury Tarkenton.
We had the cast-offs, the 2-0s, the reprobates from the other team. It was a great time for me to come. I was 21 years old, son of a preacher man, Athens, Georgia. It was a world that I'd never seen. I didn't drink at that time or nothing, and they were the greatest personalities, greatest learning experience, and the team played well.
Tarkenton didn't start the team's first ever regular season game.
After about the first half of the quarter, he put me in. And of course, it was a historic game. We beat the Bears 37 or 38-13, and I had a big day. And, you know, I did my thing. I scrambled around. And the Bears, this is 1961 now, they're the most famous team in the National Football League. Their head coach was George Halas. Their owner was George Halas. Their general manager was George Halas.
Fran had one of his career days, 3 touchdown passes. He scored a couple on runs, and it was a wildly exciting time for a bunch of young players that really didn't know if they belonged in the league or not.
They won 3 times that first season, all at the Met, including a mid-November upset of a Baltimore Colts team quarterbacked by John Unitas. In 1962, a free agent center named Mick Tingelhoff ranged far downfield to take out tacklers. A square-jawed, all-purpose fullback named Bill Brown proved to be tough to bring down. In 1963, the Vikings won 5 games, and Tommy Mason became the team's first All-Pro.
You know, you can run pretty fast when you're scared, so you get through and get on out. I think I was lucky to come to this team, and I think whatever talents I had were something that fit into Van Brocklin's type of offense.
At the heart of the team's climb toward contention was the young quarterback who credited his tactics to a 1961 preseason encounter with the Chicago Bears.
They beat me to death. I mean, they bloodied me. And I said, I've got to do something. I've got to change how this position is played, or we're not going to win a game. I had athletic ability, I had some quickness, I had good sense of where I was on the field, and I just didn't accept the sack. I started using my athletic ability and my scrambling to buy me time to be able to throw the football, and it became my trademark. It was an unwritten rule for quarterbacks not to go out of the pocket because the defensive linemen weren't in great shape in those days. They didn't want to run. Especially you go out in the Coliseum, you play Deacon and Merlin Olsen and Lamar Lundy, on a hot day in Los Angeles, and here I come out there running all over the field, and they got to run all over the field and chase me. I think I drove them nuts. And if you kind of went out of the pocket, they'd find a way to try to get you. And they tried to find a way to try to get me. They never did, though. I thought a quarterback should use his ability. He just didn't have to stay in the pocket. So I thought to use my ability to maneuver, to run, to gain yards, to pick up a first down, whatever I had to do, I thought that that's what I was supposed to do. So a quarterback ought to be able to make first downs, make that team, drive that team, get first downs, and get points on the board. A great quarterback can take a bad team and make them respectable.
By 1964, Scramblin' Fran was the man, and the expansion team from Minnesota was ready to make a move.
The Minnesota Vikings, the only team to go undefeated in preseason play, open the regular campaign against Baltimore.
Everybody was getting more consistent on offense, and we were probably more afraid of Van Brocklin than we were of the other teams a lot of times. And so you just wanted to do a good job, and we'd put a lot of points on the board.
In their first 3 seasons, the Vikings never beat Vince Lombardi's Green Bay Packers. In '64, they went to Lambeau and won. They took a 500 record to Kezar Stadium in San Francisco. There, a rookie defensive end named Carl Eller returned a fumble forced by Jim Marshall for a score. Earlier that afternoon, Marshall did the same thing. Sort of.
Now stops, throws, completes it to Kilmer up at the 30-yard line. Kilmer driving for the first down, loses the football. It's picked up by Jim Marshall, who's running the wrong way. Marshall is running the wrong way, and he's running it into the end zone the wrong way. Thinks he scored a touchdown. He has scored a safety. His teammates were running along the far side of the...
Even on the plane coming back from San Francisco, they said, "Hey, Jim, it's snowing in Minneapolis. Why don't you get up in the cockpit with the pilot and we can go the wrong way, go back out to the West Coast."
2 weeks later, the same 49ers come to Metropolitan Stadium to see if they can change their luck. A swing pass from Fran Tarkenton to Tommy Mason begins the point parade as Mason powers past the prospectors for a Minnesota TD.
As the points and wins piled up. At home against Los Angeles, Minnesota scored 34 in a rout of the Rams for victory number 6. In a visit to the big city, Tarkenton tore up the defending Eastern Division champions for win number 7. On the season's final weekend, Minnesota destroyed the defending NFL champion Chicago Bears. The Vikings tied Lombardi's Packers for second place in the NFL West. And those in the know were predicting big things in 1965. But Norm Van Brocklin's budding dynasty never bloomed.
He was a tough man, come up in tough times, and he was a knowledgeable coach. I mean, he taught me professional football. He gave me the grounding in football that few people had. I knew as much football from an offensive standpoint and a passing game standpoint as anybody.
The '65 Vikings started the season 5-3. Among those wins was a victory in Cleveland over the defending NFL champion Cleveland Browns. Clearly, the expansion team from Minnesota was poised for a title run.
We always, offensively, were pretty well represented. And we didn't always win games, but we'd lose them maybe by 28-24.
In a late season downward spiral, Minnesota dropped 4 straight games, including 2 to Lombardi's Packers, one of which occurred when this potential game-winning touchdown was ruled incomplete. The side judge bore the brunt of Minnesota's frustration. The Vikings finished 5th in the division, and for all intents and purposes, the Norm Van Brocklin era in Minnesota was over. Dutch coached one final season. Fran Tarkenton continued to mesmerize with his impromptu magic, but together they'd peaked. In their 6th season, the Vikings finished dead last in the division, a tough pill to swallow.
I've never had a failure in my life before. Trying to take an expansion team from start, getting everybody's rejects, and I was so headstrong, so confident in myself, I thought I could do it. When you have an expansion team, you get all these people in the expansion and try to make a living with it.
Van Brocklin almost destroyed me as a human being. It wasn't about scrambling. It wasn't about that. It was just about his personality. If I was a pocket passer with Van Brocklin, we were going to have conflicts. He had conflicts with every human being he came in touch with, but so that he even fueled it even more, that you cannot win with a scrambler.
In 1967, a new head coach and quarterback offered a brand new direction. Canadian League veteran Joe Kapp will never be remembered as cat-like, but his toughness and leadership appealed to Bud Grant.
The nicest thing he ever said about me was, Joe Kapp will never stop looking for a way to win the game. The only thing he ever said to me personally up close was 3 words: get a haircut.
The 4-time Canadian Grey Cup champion coach brought his own unique agenda.
Practice is almost over. We thought we were going to a kicking game. Bud has us lining up for attention for the national anthem.
Fortunately, we had people like Carl Eller who had been in the service, and so I put him in charge of making sure that everybody knew how to stand and hold a helmet and look at the flag and sing if they wanted to. And it became known as the Grant formation. I told the player, I said, if you come to training camp in shape, we don't have to worry about getting you in condition. Then we just start practicing. We'll have the shortest training camp there is. Just come in shape. Also, we're only going to have players that can play. One of the most important things you do is evaluate players. I mean, the assets of the team are the players, so you can't make a mistake in evaluating players. Having played in the league, having played every position other than interior lineman, both offense and defensively, that I had a pretty good idea, and my staff had a good idea who the players were.
Bud Grant worked no sudden miracles. His first Vikings team won just 3 games. But the team's assets improved. 3 first-round draft choices became wide receiver Gene Washington, running back Clinton Jones, and Notre Dame defensive end Alan Page. Grant immediately converted Page to tackle. There, the rookie's disruptive instincts proved the perfect complement to the hard outside charge of defensive ends Eller and Marshall.
We had diverse skills, and we kind of fell into this pattern. We could talk to each other up and down the line, and we knew what we would do within the parameters of the called defense.
Bud Grant fashioned his team in the mold of his defensive line. Athletic and persistent, weather-resistant, capable of winning low-scoring games in the upper Midwest. Special teams would be crucial. For the next decade and a half, no NFL club would be more successful blocking kicks. Ball control was paramount. If Minnesota didn't put the ball at risk, if opponents couldn't take it away, then scoring opportunities were limited, and close games were always winnable.
67, I think we won 3 games, but we were pointed in the right direction. Bud Grant gave us the leadership, the system that allowed us to be the team that we were.
In addition to 3 wins, the Vikes also posted 3 ties, including one against the powerful Colts. But the low-scoring games Grant favored were a tough sell to his quarterback.
We're at Green Bay. We played Lombardi, and we didn't, we had a pretty good defense. We ran the ball. Bill Brown was having a good day, and Joe kept saying, well, when are we going to open up, Coach? And I'd say, Joe, as long as the game is this tight and it was close, we'll just do what we're doing and do what we do best. Joe, I think he completed 7 out of 10 passes for the whole game. He said, Coach, I've never, ever only thrown 10 passes in a ball game. I said, Joe, you got to remember one thing, we won. And he said, you're right, Coach. He said, I'll do whatever you say from now on.
It was Grant's first victory with the Vikings. It came against a Lombardi team that went on to win Super Bowl II. It marked a turning point in Minnesota's football fortunes.
From Minnesota, Carl Eller.
Bud Grant's Vikings belonged to the NFC Central Division. 4 Midwestern teams playing old school football, soon to be known as the Black and Blue Division, one the Vikings would dominate for a decade.
When we went out there, nobody's going to score a touchdown on us. We're not giving up anything. We had this saying, nothing cheap and nothing deep.
Deep now meant Paul Krause, acquired by trade prior to the '68 season.
Until we got Paul, we were struggling in our secondary. Paul kind of pulled the whole thing together.
With a future Hall of Famer now patrolling the perimeter, the attack troops could cultivate their violent side. The 1968 Vikings allowed the fewest points in team history. Minnesota's might made things right when point scoring failed. Offensively, Joe Kapp and company mustered enough first downs and muscled out enough scores for 7 wins in their first 13 games. A victory in Philadelphia on the season's final Sunday would give Bud Grant's Vikings a shot at their first ever divisional title. Offensively, the Vikings' black and blueprint called for ball control with an occasional big play. Bud Grant's team was built precisely for these late season conditions. At day's end, the Minnesota Vikings prevailed 24-17. Later that afternoon, in black and blue division action elsewhere, the Green Bay Packers defeated the Chicago Bears, making Bud Grant's Vikings the champions of the NFC Central. One week later, in rainy Baltimore, the Vikings took on the Colts for the Western Division title.
They used some blitzing that we had not seen in those days of black and white film, and the Colts were successful with their blitz. We looked at that film. It was a risky blitz. It was but an outstanding blitz. And by the end of the game, we figured it out, but it was too late to win the Baltimore Colts game in the playoffs. So in '69, we looked at that film. They came up and really did try to use it again, and we were ready for it.
In a title game rematch, Joe Kapp made history.
He was out for revenge, and he was going to do everything necessary that he could to win this game.
Baltimore's vaunted blitz was blown away.
You can't cover Gene Washington, so we throw to him. I believe he got 2 of the touchdowns. The blitz exposed their weakness, and we throw a couple more.
Joe responds to challenges. I mean, you know, he's the kind of a guy, you can challenge some players and they accept it. Joe accepts it in spades.
6 different receivers caught 7 Kapp touchdown passes, tying the NFL single-game record. The entire 40-man roster gave it their all for 60 minutes, and the season's championship slogan was born.
Everything kind of clicked in '69, and we started winning games. And once you get going, you know, it's kind of steamrolling along, and ended up with a great year.
You don't just become a winner. There is a process, and that was put together by Bud Grant. If you go back and look at the records and the games that we won, how we won, between Jim Marshall being the leader on defense and Joe Kapp being the leader on offense, a lot of it can go back to Jim Marshall and Joe Kapp.
Our strength and our talent at that time was our defensive line, and we had got 3 pretty good linebackers in there by then, and we could stop a lot of teams, you know, without blitzing a lot.
In 14 games, the Vikings allowed just 133 points, the lowest single-season total since 1946, when teams only played 11. On Thanksgiving Day in Detroit, Minnesota clinched the Black and Blue Division crown, as Jim Marshall made one of the greatest plays Bud Grant had ever seen.
He knew he was going to be tackled, and just as he was tackled, he reached back and threw the ball, lateraled the ball to Alan Page, who was coming behind him. And Jim Marshall, I don't know to this day, I've looked at the film many times, I don't know how he ever saw the guy.
2 great leaders, but only 1 postseason award.
There is no most valuable Viking. There are only 40 most valuable Vikings. 40 for 60, put it that way. I just can't accept this. Thank you.
On December 27, 1969, the playoffs came to Minnesota, and the LA Rams built a 17-7 halftime lead.
And I don't know how many people the Met Stadium hold. They might have held 45,000 people, but I've talked to 150,000 people that said they were there that day.
Not a day for the timid.
Let's go defense!
Those Hollywood beach bums, they like to sit out there on the beach and nice and warm, and we got nice snow for them and 0 weather or 8 degrees. They don't fare too well with that.
Hurts a little, huh? Lester hurts a little, huh? 3-18, hunt!
In the second half, Joe Kapp rallied the Vikings.
The defense got us the ball back so that we could have the game-winning drive that Gene Washington caught the ball down in the corner there. It's one of the most fun I've ever had in my life, and don't expect to ever duplicate.
The man who declined the most valuable Viking award, and 39 other stout-hearted men played 60 minutes of football.
Later, as the game wore down, they had to throw from their end of the field, and Alan Page didn't penetrate like he ordinarily usually does, and he was back there and watched the quarterback's eye was sliding with him, and Alan's got good enough hands he could catch the ball, and he made the interception, and that was the end of the game.
It took 9 full seasons, but the Minnesota Vikings could finally celebrate a playoff victory. 1 week later, conditions were ideal for playoff win number 2.
I took pride that if we got inside the 10-yard line, that we would ram it in. That's part of the Central Division, black and blue division. And that game, the last NFL championship game, it was Gene Washington. I mean, he got behind people, so we skated in for that touchdown. But later in the game, there's this obstacle. His name is Jim Houston. The knee got him, pure accident, right on the jaw. So he's knocked out. Well, I got up and, you know, and he didn't.
It was kind of every man for himself when the game was over. Fans are crazy, you know. They came running out like there's a whole sea of people. It was quite a celebration.
In Super Bowl IV, Bud Grant's Vikings were double-digit favorites.
They were a good team. I mean, we probably got beat by a team that had better talent than we did.
We did not play Viking football. We went out and didn't dominate Kansas City defensively. They put in some new wrinkles, and we just did not make the adjustments.
So here I am with my chance to win the world championship, and I get knocked out. So it's depressing because when you get your chance, you got to be ready. And we didn't quite get it, we did not get it done.
There was no underestimating our opponent or anything like that. We felt that we could certainly do the things that we needed to do to win, and it just didn't happen.
To a man, nobody cried. Nobody made excuses. Nobody blamed anybody. It was a team right to the end. I feel that if we'd have won the game, that I could have played for the Vikings another season. But it didn't happen.
A complicated contractual dispute ended Joe Kapp's career in Minnesota.
Joe got things done with determination and grit, and
he was the type of guy that if I was going to be in an alley fight, he's the guy I want with me.
He was a winner, and the more winners you got on the team, the better chance you got of winning. Joe was a winner, Jim Marshall was a winner, and those were two vital parts of that team.
Jim Marshall remained, the captain of a Vikings defense that allowed a record 10 points per game over the next 2 seasons. The veteran anchor of a defensive line that passed into NFL legend.
They just played well together. We didn't have to tinker. We didn't have to do a lot of stunting or unbalanced defenses. We just lined up, came as hard as we could, and we'll beat at the quarterback. Together, they were, you know, with all the machinery fit, all the gears were in place. Jim Marshall always played better when he had a temperature, or he had a sprained ankle, or a jammed shoulder, or a sore wrist. He always pushed it up a notch. And every time he was nicked, he played better. He was a unique football player. Moose Eller on the other side was big, strong, pass rushing, played his best games against the toughest players. And then Larson, another steady, big, strong, kind of cleanup guy in the middle.
The fourth and youngest member of the so-called Purple People Eaters was defensive tackle Alan Page. In 1970, he was named the NFC's Defensive Player of the Year.
Alan was easy to coach because he was such a great talent. I mean, he probably didn't need any coaching at all.
In 1971, Page was voted the NFL's most valuable player, the only defensive lineman ever to be so honored.
Probably one of the best defensive linemen that I've ever seen. And one thing you didn't want to do is make him angry. You made him angry, he would get quicker, better, more tenacious. Just a great football player.
Minnesota opened the new decade with 2 more divisional titles, but Bud Grant's offense was becoming an issue.
There was concern that they couldn't get the job done all the time. It was our belief that, 1, if it was going to get done, we had to do it.
And 2, that they would, in fact, do it, as Paul Krause did in the 1970 playoffs against San Francisco.
The only thing I really remember about that game is it was very cold. San Francisco just kept sticking with us all during the game, and they finally beat us, and it was very disappointing. I felt that we just had a much better football team than San Francisco.
1 year later, same stadium, same results. Defensive points, but no playoff victory.
We assumed defensively we had the ability to get there without points. And so anything that the offense added was a net plus.
In 1972, the offense welcomed back an old friend.
As a quarterback, he had an instinctive ability to know how to move a team down the field. He brought a dimension to us that very few teams had.
My number one goal was to make our team better. Run it, throw it, scramble it, outthink, outplan, outstrategize, because that's the thrill of it, is the winning.
Fran Tarkenton set new single-season Viking records for completions and passing yardage. When the situation called for it, he could still improvise and make plays on the run. But in the end, the Vikings surrendered the Central Division title to Green Bay, missing the playoffs for the first time in 5 seasons. In the 1973 draft, Bud Grant added a new dimension to the offensive mix. But the old coach had this thing about starting rookies.
Fran Tarkenton came over to me and says, "Chuck, you're not going to start, but you'll be there in 2 minutes," just to calm down, because I was kind of an emotional kind of guy. We were playing Oakland. That's when it all started.
Not since Tommy Mason and Hugh McElhenney had the Vikings fielded a back with such breakaway burst.
Once I got past that first wave, it wasn't a tap, 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 tap. It was a hit and split.
Chuck Foreman became the consensus Rookie of the Year. The Vikings began the year with 9 consecutive wins, en route to their third 12-2 finish in 5 seasons. No longer a liability, the offense could score from anywhere. Opposing offenses enjoyed no such privileges.
I think we got to the point where we really believed that we went out on the field and we played the type of ball that we were capable of. Nobody could beat us. We played with a sense of confidence, not with arrogance. It's kind of an infectious thing. When you coordinate that, if everybody's got that feeling, man, it's pretty much a situation where you know you're going to win. You know you're going to go out there and there's nobody that's going to beat you.
And so once again, the NFC playoffs came through Minnesota. Oscar Reed, the running back Chuck Foreman replaced in the starting lineup, showed that he was still very much a part of Minnesota's success. It was 40 for 60, all over again. Playing in their first ever postseasons, Fran Tarkenton and John Gilliam tormented the over-the-hill gang. The Twin Cities rejoiced. The following week in Dallas, with a national television audience in attendance, the Minnesota Vikings dispatched America's team in its own backyard. This was black and blue division football at its brutal best. Bobby Bryant's interception sealed the deal in Dallas. the Minnesota Vikings were going back to the Super Bowl. And once again, big game success was not to be. Down by 2 scores before their first offensive snap, the Vikings managed just 1 touchdown against the powerful Miami Dolphins. It was a portent of things to come.
You want to play in the big game, and we played in the big game, and we lost all 3 times that I quarterbacked. I have never gotten over that.
In 1974, the starting lineup was virtually the same, with predictable results. Chuck Foreman led the league in touchdowns. Fran Tarkenton led the conference in passing yards. John Gilliam earned his 3rd straight trip to the Pro Bowl. The veteran Viking defense allowed the fewest touchdowns in the NFL. Factor in the Vikings' perennial special teams excellence, and the sum total was Minnesota's 6th Black and Blue Division crown in 7 seasons. By playoff time, Vikings weather had descended upon the upper Midwest, and the Met was rocking. First up were the St. Louis Cardinals. Fran Tarkenton and John Gilliam gave the Vikings a lead. The Purple Gang made it stick. This was the scenario for which this team was built. Next up, all the way from sunny Southern California, the Los Angeles Rams for the NFC title.
I could tell they were kind of psyched out even before the game, just knowing that it was going to be maybe 10 below zero.
It was amazing to watch teams come in here and play us when it got cold. You could see it in their eyes. They wanted to go home.
Metropolitan Stadium, when the sun would drop over the back of the stadium, the temperature would drop, 10, 15, sometimes 20 degrees. And we would, under our breath, start saying, Odin, 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 Viking god of war, And so, you see your opponents going, what manner of men are these? These dudes are crazy.
6 inches from the Viking end zone, Odin intervened.
They thought we had some kind of a spiritual thing going on, and it was simply that it was going to get cold.
Game, set, match. Minnesota Vikings. Another NFC championship for Bud Grant's team. Another opportunity to play on football's biggest stage, and another impending disappointment for the Viking faithful. Near the end of the first half, Minnesota drove toward a go-ahead TD. In the end, the Vikings' only points came when rookie linebacker Matt Blair blocked a punt that Terry Brown recovered in the end zone. Now even more determined, Minnesota opened the '75 season with 10 straight victories. Chuck Foreman became the Minnesota Vikings' first ever 1,000-yard rusher. Foreman also caught 73 passes, an NFL record for running backs in a single season. As usual, the Purple Gang was impregnable. The Minnesota Vikings defense allowed the fewest yards in football, the 3rd fewest points in football, and in 4 of their 14 games did not surrender a touchdown. Finally, there was 35-year-old Francis Asbury Tarkenton. In 1975, Scramblin' Fran was voted the NFL's most valuable player. On this pass against San Diego, he broke John Unitas' all-time career completion record. On the season's final Sunday, on a picture-perfect day in Buffalo, Tarkenton went for the holy grail of passing marks. Career touchdown passes.
First and goal from the 7. Fran rolls to the right, ducks it out, caught by Foreman, touchdown! Chuck Foreman's 4th touchdown of the day. Fran Tarkenton's record-breaking 291st career touchdown pass. 2 of them to Foreman this afternoon as they cleared out.
Rolled up more statistics than any Viking team. So, 75 was really... all the players and the coaches, everybody, I think that was probably our best team.
2nd and 10, Cowboys from the 50.
But this great Vikings team would not escape the first round.
Down the near sideline for Drew Pearson. Pearson makes the catch at the 5, touchdown!
Drew Pearson made a great play. He pushed off and didn't get caught. As I was running over there, I was pointing. And there's only one reason I was pointing, is because he had pushed off.
This was our best Viking team, and we lost. But now, that wasn't the most devastating thing that happened to me that day, because I get outside into one of the trailers that we had to watch the second game, and Jack Buck came on television and announced the death of my father. My father had had a heart attack watching the game in Savannah, Georgia. So I went from there to my father's death, and so the game didn't seem quite as important at that particular time.
The 1976 team won 11, lost 2, and tied 1. In the playoffs, Rookie of the Year Sammy White caught 1 of 2 Tarkenton touchdown passes. Chuck Foreman ran through arm tackles to secure another NFC Championship game appearance. On that day, Odin once again was summoned.
To a man, we decided they're not crossing his line. And we fought them to 4th down, and they tried to kick a field goal.
Dempsey in to try for the field goal. This is a chip shot. There's a snap a bit high. The ball is down. The kick is blocked. Into the net. Touchdown. The Vikings are going to score. It's Bobby Bryant. Nate Allen blocked it. Bobby Bryant scooped it up. Unbelievable.
And it was one of those kind of things where you just turn around, look at them, and smile and shake your head. Yeah.
Minnesota never trailed and never looked back. For the 3rd time in 4 years, the land of the Midnight Sun celebrated an NFC championship. Little did anyone suspect, this would be their last of the century.
I think that this crowd has finally got it, in the sense, the feeling of emotion, the sense of victory.
This is Joe McConnell reporting to you from Pasadena, California, the Rose Bowl, and this year the site of Super Bowl 11. For the 3rd time now in the last 4 years, the Minnesota Vikings have been to the Super Bowl.
And for the final time in the millennium, Minnesota would come up empty.
Second place doesn't count, but second place doesn't count in anything in this country. And you either win it all, or you kind of blend in with the rest of the teams.
I was just devastated that we lost 3 Super Bowls, because I knew that our team was getting older, and the possibilities of us getting back there again were slim.
That's really the only one that ever bothered me, because I knew we wouldn't be back, because all the really great players were getting old and leaving.
I think my legacy has been damaged. I think the legacy of my teammates have been damaged, and the legacy of the Minnesota Vikings have been damaged for some reason because we didn't win those Super Bowls.
Fran Tarkenton played 2 more seasons, completed 500 more passes, and the Vikings found ways to win 2 more division titles. But the core group of this great team had played in its final championship.
I never have a day go by that I don't regret not being able to do something more to help my team win a Super Bowl.
And when he retired, you might have to check this out, but he threw 20-some touchdown passes his last year. He had some life left in him even when he retired. But he picked a good time and he went out on top. And from my evaluation standpoint, as a quarterback, he was the greatest.
17-year veteran center Mick Tingelhoff and future Hall of Fame defensive linemen Carl Eller and Alan Page also left after the '78 season. Safety Paul Krause played 1 more year. On a December day in the Coliseum, this interception made him the NFL's all-time leader.
You never play to get to the Hall of Fame. You put winning seasons together, and then all of a sudden, somebody has statistics that are better than anybody else's, and then he becomes a Hall of Fame player.
He is playing his final game at Metropolitan Stadium today. Number 70, the captain of 10 divisional champions and 4 Viking Super Bowl teams, Jim Marshall.
1 week later, the original Minnesota Viking played his final home game. Not surprisingly, he recorded a pair of sacks. Jim Marshall's retirement marked the end of a golden era.
He was a special person from a leadership standpoint by example. If I said to do something, Jim Marshall did it, the whole team did it. He was a special guy.
As the first Viking generation passed the torch to the next, one constant remained.
He was a great, great coach. If you could not play for Bud Grant, you could not play. Understood winning and losing of football games and what made teams win or lose.
Player assets were the key. In 1977, a rookie quarterback from Rice named Tommy Kramer engineered a 3-touchdown comeback win over San Francisco, enabling the Vikings to clinch another divisional title, their 9th in 10 seasons. That same year, Matt Blair not only made his first of 6 straight Pro Bowls, but also extended Minnesota's tradition of special teams excellence. Chuck Foreman gained 1,100-plus yards rushing.
To run 4,000 yards in was truly an accomplishment because, let me tell you, the game was different.
And Bud Grant's team was evolving with it. In 1978, running back Ricky Young arrived from San Diego. Young led the league with 88 pass receptions, breaking Chuck Foreman's NFL record. Together, Young and Foreman established a new standard for combined receptions by a backfield tandem.
Defenses didn't know what to do, so they decided to double up on me and free him,
resulting in the Vikings version of the West Coast offense. And Bud knew just the man to run it.
For the last 2 years, I've had the opportunity to sit and watch behind one of the greatest quarterbacks that ever played the game. It's been a real experience for me, but I was kind of anxious to play.
In his first full season as a starter, Tommy Kramer proved to be resourceful, athletic, and resilient. More importantly, the 24-year-old Texan had a great arm. "3,000 passing yards and 23 touchdowns later, Tommy Kramer had established himself at quarterback. He would be a factor there for 13 NFL seasons. By 1980, Bud Grant's rebuilt team was becoming a force. After an uncertain 3-5 start, the Vikings seized control and won 6 of their final 8 games. Kramer commanded the NFC's best passing attack. Second-year running back Ted Brown flirted with the 1,000-yard rushing mark and brought balance to the offense. The next generation of Viking defenders started playing like their illustrious predecessors as Bud Grant's team zeroed in on the postseason. They even summoned Odin to the mat. Trailing 13-0 at halftime, Tommy Kramer launched a rally. A division title and playoff berth were at stake. Down by a point with time running out, Odin, once again, worked his Metropolitan Stadium magic.
In favor of Cleveland. 5 seconds left. First down, Cleveland 46. 3 wide receivers right. Kramer back to pass. He's going deep down the right side, and it is one more, and it's touchdown! Rashawn! I don't believe it! I don't believe it! The Vikings are in the playoffs. Absolutely one of the great dramatic finishes of any football game anywhere. 28-23. The Vikings go to the playoffs.
There were definitely 2 seasons for the Vikings, 3-5 the first half, 6-2 the second half. As of right now, the Vikings feel to a man that they're playing as well as anybody in the league.
On the road in Philadelphia, the Vikings roll. But their big lead vanished. And ultimately, the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. Injuries cost Kramer the first 2 games in 1981. He still set new team records for passing yards and TD passes. Ted Brown rushed for 1,000 and amassed more combined yards than any Viking since Chuck Foreman. Tight end Joe Sensor's 1,000 receiving yards made the 81 Viking offense the most prolific in team history. But 5 straight season-ending losses left the Vikings out of the playoffs. On this discouraging note, Minnesota said goodbye to Metropolitan Stadium. Those who worked and played there remembered it fondly.
We had a core of fans. It was a small core. And I don't know that we really got them on board until 1964 when we had our first winning season. Our fan base just swelled from there.
Tailgating must have been invented right here in Minnesota. That's what was special about Metropolitan Stadium, because when you got there, all the fans were waiting.
They always wanted to feed you and give you a beer, and it was just that physical closeness and touching and just showing that they really did support us and cared.
Everybody knew you and talked to you, and on the way out of the game, everybody invited you to their party, and it was kind of very Minnesota.
In the strike-shortened season of 1982, Minnesota moved indoors. There, the Vikings quickly established a dome field advantage. When Atlanta came to the Twin Cities in the postseason, the Vikings pounded them.
Back to pass, pumps once, throws over the middle, wide open, 10-yard line, 5, Samuel White, touchdown! This is the most emotional I have ever seen a Minnesota Viking football team. Young in motion left, hand off to the left, Teddy Brown, going to the corner.
It was Bud Grant's final playoff win. The following week in Washington, the Vikings put up a fight but fell to the eventual Super Bowl champions. It was Bud Grant's final playoff game. In September of '83, Tommy Kramer suffered a season-ending injury. The Vikings missed the playoffs. In January of '84, after 17 seasons at the helm, Bud Grant retired as Vikings head coach.
He was about the most level-tempered person that you'd ever want to meet, and what you saw was what you got. That was Bud, and he was the same all the time. You knew exactly what to expect from him. That made it much easier for the players.
He didn't talk a lot, so when he spoke, everybody would listen because he wouldn't ramble on, and when he would speak to you, you know, it was substantive. And it paid off because we were always fresh. He knew the teams that were going to win are going to make the least mistakes. So he put guys out there that made very, very few mistakes.
I learned more from Bud than anybody in my life other than my dad. I've got nothing but the greatest respect for him.
When he left and the new regime came in, things kind of changed a little bit.
And not for the better. Grant's successor was 37-year-old offensive assistant Les Steckel. His 1984 team finished 3-13. The Vikings' worst season ever. Steckel was fired. 1985 marked the silver anniversary of the Viking franchise. On opening day, Minnesota honored the team's greats from its first quarter century. And who better to reign over the Metrodome on this magnificent day than the Vikings' all-time winningest coach, Bud Grant.
If you're with an organization for any period of time, it almost becomes family. If I can help this franchise or this team, come back from certainly their worst season ever last year, then I'll attempt to do that.
In week 1 of Grant's return tour, Minnesota took on the defending Super Bowl champion 49ers. Trailing 21-14 in the fourth quarter, the Vikings rallied to an improbable victory.
1:55 to go. Vikes and the Niners are tied. Ted Brown, the only running back. And to give to Ted Brown. Pop through. He's straight on demand. 5. He goes in. And the Vikes, a minute 49 seconds away from a miracle, lead the world champion Niners.
By defeating the Bills and Buffalo, the Vikings equaled their win total from the 1984 season 4 weeks into the 1985 campaign. Minnesota's early season success was keyed by an explosive offense that was averaging more than 27 points per game in the first month of the season. Quarterback Tommy Kramer had a plethora of pass targets. Number 83 tight end Steve Jordan was Kramer's go-to receiver. Jordan led all NFC tight ends in receptions and provided a physical presence over the middle. Receivers Mike Jones, number 89, and Leo Lewis, number 87, were the flash to Jordan's smash. Diminutive running back Darren Nelson led the team in total yards.
You couldn't double team any of us, really, and that's what I think contributed to a lot of our success. It really was just a great complement of receivers and great running backs, and it was fun to be part of.
But the man who emerged as the offense's most potent weapon was receiver Anthony Carter. One of 13 first-year players on the 1985 Vikings, Carter led a group of young players that became the foundation of the next decade of Viking football. Carter's impact on offense was equaled only by Keith Millard's on defense. Number 75 recorded 11 sacks in his rookie season. Despite being out of playoff contention, Grant's young team showed the fortitude of champions on a blustery Philadelphia afternoon. Trailing by 23 points, backup quarterback Wade Wilson and 7 rookie starters refused to accept defeat.
Back to throw, pass over the middle of the race, he goes into the end zone for the touchdown. Bootleg, roll to the left, and he's going to be sacked. He fumbles in the backfield, picked up by Teal. He can score a touchdown. He's going to go all the way on a Jaworski fumble, and the Vikings have their second touchdown. Wade Wilson takes the snap, drops back to pass, scrambles to his right, throws it deep down the right side. He's got Carter open. Touchdown! And the Vikings have pulled a stunning come-from-behind victory here in Philadelphia.
Viking pride had been restored. Now it was time for Bud Grant to pass the torch.
I didn't intend to come back in the first place, but I was asked by some very good friends, mainly Max Winter and Mike Lynn, people that I respect very much and have been very good to me, if I would come back. I think in that year's time, the Vikings have come back to respectability, and having achieved that, step down once again as I intended to do the first time and stay retired.
Grant's replacement was a familiar face in the Vikings organization. After 18 seasons as Minnesota's offensive coordinator, it was Jerry Burns' time to call the shots.
I'm very thrilled with the opportunity that has been afforded me to be the head coach of Minnesota Vikings. I just hope that I can repay this opportunity. We got excellent people here, and I've got every confidence that we will make the improvements that we expect.
As expected, the offense didn't skip a beat. The Vikings scored the most points in the NFC, and quarterback Tommy Kramer was the NFL's highest-rated passer in 1986.
Looking deep, Kramer unloads it, way behind it. Defender is Leo Lewis. He's got it at the 25, the 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown, Leo Lewis.
Tommy was awesome. I mean, you know, when he was on, I don't know if there was very many that were better in the game. When game time came, he just wanted it to be perfection, and that's the type of competitor he was.
I don't care if we were playing for the Super Bowl or we're playing the first game of the year. He goes in with the same attitude. He goes in to win the game, and he plays for the full 60 minutes.
Kramer's finest game of the season came against Green Bay in a game he dedicated to his ailing mother. He threw 6 touchdown passes despite being pulled early in the third quarter.
On 2nd and 20 as Kramer steps up into the pocket, throws on the move. He's got Jordan inside the 5. He goes to the goal line. Touchdown, Vikings. Wide open. Touchdown, Steve Jordan. Kramer throws a fly in the left corner. Touchdown, Hassan Jones. And the Vikings are making it look ridiculous.
Two weeks later, Kramer directed a comeback in San Francisco.
It'll be a 27-yard try for the win in overtime for Chuck Nelson and the Vikings. Here's the kick. It is up. It is good. The Vikings win.
The next week, the Vikings returned to Minnesota and dominated the defending Super Bowl champion Bears.
The quick slide over the middle. It's caught. It's going to be a touchdown. At the 30. It's Anthony Carter. The 10.
The Vikings won 3 of the final 4 games and clinched their first winning season in 4 years with a victory on frigid Lambeau Field. The late season momentum carried over to the start of the 1987 campaign. The Vikings were soaring, following dramatic come-from-behind victories in the first 2 games of the season. But a player's strike took the air out of their sails. Jerry Burns was 0-3 with replacement players. The strike ended the final weekend in October, and the Vikings returned for a Monday night showdown with the Denver Broncos. A thrilling 34-27 victory began a stretch of 5 wins in 6 games.
I remember the team just kind of coming together and thinking, hey, let's just make a run. Let's just play every down and see what happens.
The streaking Vikings defeated the Cowboys on Thanksgiving in overtime. For the first time in 5 years, the Vikings were headed to the playoffs. In the first round, they traveled to New Orleans to take on the NFC's hottest team.
We were able to go down to New Orleans in an atmosphere that was very hostile, and they knew that they were going to beat us. We played an outstanding game offensively, defensively, and special teams. We came together as a whole team, and we went down there and really, really played an outstanding game in New Orleans, and we were able to come out with that wild card victory.
It was a total team effort and a total team win, something that we haven't had here in quite some time. Hopefully this can carry over into San Francisco.
And that 49er team was one of the best teams. You knew everybody on the team. I mean, you knew every name.
The Vikings introduced themselves and their physical style of play to the 49ers.
We didn't let the 49ers rattle us at all.
Minnesota jumped ahead by 17 points with Wade Wilson's touchdown pass to Hassan Jones. But one man rose above the rest.
AC, Anthony Carter. I mean, he played so well. This guy just turned into a Superman and just started making plays.
Anthony Carter gained an NFL playoff record 227 yards on 10 receptions.
I think that was one of the biggest victories for us in the 80s.
To win that game, I mean, even years later today, I mean, that's probably one of the best games and memorable wins I've ever had.
The 1987 playoff run infused a confidence in the Vikings that had been lacking earlier in the decade. The Vikings brought the decade to a close on a high note with successful 1988 and 89 seasons.
Goes to the end zone. Hassan Jones! Touchdown, Minnesota!
Protected by Hall of Famers Gary Zimmerman and Randall McDaniel, quarterbacks Tommy Kramer and Wade Wilson led one of the most potent pass attacks in the game. Carter had his finest season to date, recording over 1,200 receiving yards, shattering Ahmad Rashad's team record.
Boy, I tell you, if it's on the line, Anthony Carter will make it happen. He's one of these guys, when you look at him physically, he's skinny, he's small, great hands, big play player, one of the best receivers that's in the National Football League now.
The Vikings' average margin of victory in '88 was more than 3 touchdowns. But the offense could not take all the credit. Minnesota's defense was one of the most dominant in the league. Their catalyst was Keith Millar.
He was integral in terms of setting the tone for our defensive line. Henry Thomas was playing beside him. Chris Dolman was at one end. Al Noga was at the other end. They were just unbelievable in terms of getting off the ball. And Keith Millar set the tone for how the game was going to be played every week in and week out.
Former outside linebacker Chris Dolman became a dominant defensive end.
If you took a prototype of what you were looking for as a defensive end, it certainly would be Chris Dolman. He's 6'5 and a half, 260, probably runs about a 4.7 40, has great upper body strength, has great reactions. We look for great things out of Chris Dolman.
Dolman and Millard controlled the line of scrimmage, while Minnesota's all-time leading tackler Scott Studwell and Jesse Solomon cleaned up the rest. Pro Bowlers Carl Lee and Joey Browner comprised one half of one of the league's stingiest secondaries.
One of the things that made me a better tight end was going up against a Joey Browner. Joey was all world. I mean, he was fast, great range, strong. He was just phenomenal.
For the second year in a row, the Vikings defense was the top ranked in the league. Keith Millard's ascension into stardom culminated with the 1989 NFL Defensive Player of the Year award. In the midst of a 4-game winning streak, all against division foes, the Vikings pulled off a blockbuster trade with the Cowboys, acquiring running back Herschel Walker. Walker made his presence felt in his first game with Minnesota, leading the team with 148 rushing yards.
2nd and 5, across the 30, 35, 40, at midfield. Herschel breaks away, loses his shoe, and he's all the way to the Packer 26-yard line. 50 yards, the first time he touches it from offense for the Minnesota Vikings.
Minnesota hoped Walker was the missing piece to a championship puzzle.
Monday Night Football, the final regular season game of the year, and the Bengals and the Vikings both need the victory to advance to postseason play.
Taking no prisoners tonight, baby. Let's go.
A Viking victory would produce the team's first division title since 1980. But the Vikes must get by the defending AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals.
Let's go, Let's go,
After 3 seasons as the NFC Central runner-up, the Vikings were 1 win away from a Central Division title. Minnesota got out to a 19-0 lead against the Bengals. But Cincinnati came storming back. The game that once seemed to be in hand came down to one play.
Here's your season. 4th and goal at the Bengal 1. Wade, play action, wants to throw, lofts it to the end zone, and it is good for a touchdown! Almost over Southgate, he caught
The 1990s were not as kind to Jerry Burns. The decade began with a 28-point playoff loss to San Francisco. Tommy Kramer was gone, and an injury to Wade Wilson forced young Rich Gannon into action. Herschel Walker's production did not meet his hefty price tag, and the numerous draft picks used to acquire him handcuffed the team. The Vikings had become an aging team, guided by an inexperienced quarterback. Jerry Burns retired, following underwhelming 6-10 and 8-8 records in 1990 and 91. In the late 1980s, the Metrodome was home to teams on the brink of championships. In the 90s, it became home to individuals on the precipice of their professional lives. After years of chasing his dream of becoming an NFL head coach, Dennis Green was given an opportunity to patrol the Vikings sideline in 1992. Green did not waste any time instilling his values on his new team.
Desire, dedication, and determination are the 3 Ds, and they're really, for me, the essence of life.
Let's go. You got to work it now. Every down. Let's go. We got to find some way to get the job done now. It's right there for the taking.
And we talk a lot about the 3 Ds, desire, dedication, and determination. Desire is establishing what you want. What do you want?
Come on, Steve, y'all. We ain't get out damn day. You can't handle me, boy.
Dedication is the price that you pay to get it. Determination is how many times we'll get knocked back down, be ready to get back up. How many times can we be disappointed and still not lose the fire in our belly?
Big handoff by Gannon, back to throw, throws off the back foot, downfield, Chris Carter, touchdown! Chris Carter!
Like Green, Chris Carter and John Randall took the road less traveled to NFL success. 2 Hall of Fame-worthy careers that nearly never were thrived together in Minnesota.
Way to work. You the man, Johnny. You the man, baby.
An undrafted free agent from Texas A&I, John Randall came to Vikings camp in 1990 with a lot to prove.
For my whole football career, the odds have always kind of been stacked against me. Not many teams were looking for a 6'1", 240-pound defensive lineman.
Where he was going to fit in, we didn't know. But once we got on the field, you knew he had to be on the field somewhere.
I hope he denied.
Chris Carter had 11 touchdowns the season before joining the Vikings. But personal demons cost him his job in Philadelphia.
As far as my athletic career, that was the lowest moment. That day I got waived. In Little League, I was Barnett's Bank. In middle school, I was McKinley. In high school, I was the Middletown Middies, the Buckeyes at Ohio State, now an Eagle. And at that moment, I was no one, no team, no number, no identity. That was the fork in the road for me.
We heard some good things about him and some mixed reviews about him. All we knew was that, hey, if you want to be on this team and we know you can contribute, we're happy to have you. And I think Chris was also in a position where he had a little chip on his shoulder. He wanted to prove some people wrong, and so that helped us.
I'm not making mistakes. I'm not doing anything but just working hard.
Swarm in, David. Swarm it to the ball. 1, 2, 3, swarm.
The Vikings got off to a fast start in 1992, defeating the Packers in thrilling overtime fashion.
Here's a field goal trying to win the game. Center snap spotted, booted, the kick is up, and the kick is good, and the Vikings beat the Packers 23-20 in overtime. And the players are running out on the field. Now this guy looks like a playoff game. They're coming out, they're congratulating each other, picking Fuad up, they're excited.
The offense was still explosive through the air, but the addition of former 49er Roger Craig and the emergence of second-year back Terry Allen bolstered the ground game. Allen was the breakout star of the season. Number 21 rushed for over 1,200 yards and 13 touchdowns.
Welcome to the Minneapolis Metrodome, where today the 63rd Vikings-Packers clash unfolds. The Minnesota Vikings into the playoffs for the first time since '89, rebounding from an 8-8 season under first-year head coach Dennis Green.
With their playoff spot secured, the Vikings put the finishing touches on their Central Division title with a little help from future NFL head coaches Jack Del Rio and Mike Tice.
Throws on the run, leaping, catch, Tice at the 15, at the 10, at the 5, touchdown, Vikings!
here. We're on a rail.
The 1993 season began with a familiar face taking snaps from center.
Nice and relax. Let's make something happen now. Nice and relax. Nice and relax.
However, this time it was former foe, Jim McMahon. The Vikings were 3-2 when rookie Robert Smith, adorned with the number 20,
The Bear 26-yard line. Handoff Robert Smith. Knifes up the middle. Turns the corner at the 20. And the 15. 10. 5. Touchdown! Right, Robert Smith. On third and 5.
and a pick six from number 26 helped McMahon to a victory in Soldier Field.
And in goes Audrey McMillan for the touchdown on a pickoff of a Jim Harbaugh pass.
I got one thing to say. This is when the big dogs come out. Okay? You can't roll the big dogs. Stay on the board.
The hard-hitting, high-flying Vikings were playoff bound for the second year in a row under Dennis Green. The regular season concluded with a 3-game winning streak that included thrilling finishes in Green Bay and Washington.
Back to throw, short drop, pump fake, maybe a fade route. Looks right now, looks left, fires in the end zone, and a catch! Touchdown! Kadri Ismail!
We hold them out, we win. It's that simple.
Fourth and goal at the 7-yard line. Vikes up 21-17, trying to preserve the lead. Far back to throw. Looking, cocks his arm, fires it. Incomplete! They stopped them! Incomplete pass! And it was Bensy Glenn who knocked the ball away. Incomplete, Vikings take over.
Let's just come down here to RFK, get in, get out, get the victory, get the playoffs.
McMahon calls out signals, drops the throw, cocks his arm, fires the ball. It is caught! All right, Anthony Carter!
To the playoffs we go. The big thing is you win under any kind of circumstances, and you show the heart for a 16-game schedule, and you show the heart for 60 minutes. That's what we showed today.
A first-round playoff exit prompted a major offseason move. In April of 1994, the Vikings acquired quarterback Warren Moon from the Houston Oilers. Moon's leadership helped elevate Green's offense to the next level.
Warren was smart. He was a student of the game. He made sure that the receivers and quarterback got together on Fridays and go over what we're going to do on Sundays.
The future Hall of Famer passed for a team record 4,264 yards and led the Vikings to a 10-6 record and a division title. Moon was protected by one of the league's best offensive lines.
We had such a powerful offensive line, across the board. You got guys like Jeff Christie and Todd Stussy and Randall McDaniel. All those guys just so big and powerful they can wear a defense down.
Every good man I know been through something. It's just gonna make your spiritual muscle stronger.
4 years after being released by Philadelphia, Chris Carter became Moon's favorite receiver. Carter set an NFL record with 122 receptions in 1994, a feat he would match in 95.
Throws it, it is tipped and caught for a touchdown. Big catch by Chris Carter. Oh, man. Carter does it again.
What more can you say about this guy? That's why you make what you make, and I make what I make. Nice job. All right. Nice job.
Number 80's evolution from promising pass-catching phenom to near NFL burnout had come full circle. His 8 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons with the Vikings and 130 career touchdown receptions are numbers deserving of a bronze bust in Canton, Ohio. A distinction bestowed upon one-time NFL long shot John Randall in 2010.
Big dogs are in the house!
Casual fans recall Randall as the man with the makeup and the motor mouth.
Oh, let's go, baby! Let's go!
Barry, you can't talk to me, dog. J.J. Stokes! You cutting to J.J. Walker?
Viking fans remember the man who always played full throttle. The undersized, overachieving defensive tackle's 137.5 career sacks are the 6th most in NFL history.
Hey, that's gonna leave a mark.
Come on, Todd. You laid off the ball. Come on.
Dennis Green won 30 games in his first 3 NFL seasons, but the Vikings were only 4 games over 500 in the following 3. Even worse, Minnesota was 1-5 in the playoffs under Green.
The Minnesota Vikings have selected wide receiver from Marshall University, Randy Moss.
The 1998 draft presented Green with the opportunity to add a game-changing talent to the Viking offense.
They call me the freak, man. Because I'm a freak of nature. You're going to see today, just keep your eyes glued to the TV.
The most physically gifted player in the draft slid to the Vikings at pick 21.
The question was, is he going to allow behavior to interfere with him becoming a great football player? And I was convinced that he would not, that Randy Moss, when he got to where he was going to be a great pro. Then I called Chris Carter and said, Chris, are you on board with helping this guy become the player he should be? And he says, absolutely.
Carter took Moss under his wing. The two traveled to Florida to work out prior to training camp.
After a few workouts, I called Dennis Green and told him that he is the most unbelievable athlete that I have ever seen.
A motivated Moss vowed revenge on the teams that passed on him in the draft.
I'm going to come here and try to do the best I can to rip the NFL up. And my whole goal is to just come in and do whatever I can to wreck this whole league.
When the regular season began, he kept his word.
Let's go, it's on! It's on week 1, baby! Yes! Reflection today! Yes! Push yourself! Yes! Nothing but the best! 1, 2, 3, the best!
Back goes Johnson, rolling right, 1st and 10 from the 48. Bomb downfield to Moss. Down there, juggles it. Oh, touchdown! Take the Randy! Back goes Johnson, rolling right. Johnson throws deep. Oh, touchdown! Randy Moss!
And I think we're seeing a real coming out party here in this first game.
We took a very positive first step. Now we've got to build on it. And there are a lot of things that we can do better, but it was clear that we are a quicker team than we were last year, a more explosive team than we were last year, and I think we got that little bit extra drive.
Quarterback Brad Johnson was injured in the 2nd game of the season. But the Vikings had an able arm ready to step in.
When Brad got hurt, we were like, we felt bad for Brad. But then when Cunningham stepped in, that veteran, we already knew he would prove him. He would make things happen. So we were just like, hey, let's keep this thing moving. Let's keep this train going.
Randall Cunningham's versatility added a layer of complexity to the Vikings' attack.
When Randall came in, it offered us that full cachet. That vertical threat opened up the running game. Not to mention, it's Randall Cunningham who can still run the ball.
AD, what you gonna do today?
I got my A game.
You got your A game?
A game?
He got his A game.
No matter who was under center, Chris Carter was the undisputed leader of the offense.
First down!
Cunningham back to throw, pump fake, now lets it go, throws it deep to Chris Carter, and it's caught! Touchdown, Vikings! Chris Carter!
You got a little speed.
I had to go get that one, yeah.
But his star pupil was learning fast.
It's all about making plays, and it all starts in practice. That's what I try to tell you all the time, man. Me and you, Moss, in and out.
Cunningham fake to Robert Smith. Back to throw. Coxon fires it deep downfield. Moss! Touchdown, Vikings! Leaping catch for Randy Moss.
Hey, big fella, hey. Way not to push him off, too. Way not to push him off. Yeah. Because that guy is right back there. And way to elevate.
Lambeau Field in Green Bay on this Monday night. One of these teams will be 5-0 at the end of the game and in first place all alone atop the NFC Central.
Randy and I, we talked all day about what we thought we could do to him. And we knew for us that this was going to be a statement game.
Cunningham fake give off play action looking. Cox throws downfield and he has got Moss at the 15. He breaks away at the 10 to the 5. Touchdown Vikings.
This is Randall Cunningham and he's going for 7 more and it is Moss getting position. Touchdown. He's unstoppable.
Just a magnificent performance by this Minnesota offensive machine.
That was a game that I can truly say, from a quality team, we embarrassed them.
All right, let's rock and roll here. Here we go.
The Vikings were 7-0 after outscoring the Redskins and Lions by a total score of 75-20.
Robert Smith trying to get loose, maybe this time. Sideline 30, 25-20. Look out! Here he goes! Pull it away!
Unfortunately, their 8th opponent had inside information.
Let's have some fun out here. We got Tony Dungy, one of our former coaches. Let's have some fun.
It's just somebody you knew that knew you knew them. It's almost like you were fighting or playing against your brother.
The Vikings were able to score 24 points against Tony Dungy's defense and had a 7-point fourth-quarter lead. But Minnesota was unable to stop the Bucs' power game.
Dennis Green's Minnesota Vikings will taste defeat for the first time this year. They'll go to 7-1.
Got off track last week. Time to get back on this week. One thing we didn't do last week, guys, we didn't play 60 minutes. We got to do that today. We got to take control. Dominate on 3. 1, 2, 3. Dominate!
The Vikings did indeed dominate the remainder of the regular season. Robert Smith had nearly 1,500 yards from scrimmage. The defense forced 34 turnovers. And the offense scored at a pace that had never been seen before.
It was Super Bowl or bust for us. We knew we had the team.
You're looking at something very, very magical this year.
Coxon throws it deep. Got Moss down there. Touchdown, Vikings!
We had Randy Moss, Jake Reed, Chris Carter, Robert Smith, Leroy Horde, and then that offensive line. They were scoring on whoever they wanted to at that time.
On Thanksgiving, Randy Moss wanted to score against Dallas, a team he felt slighted him in the draft.
Offset I formation, Evans and Smith there. The give to Smith, then a flea flicker, toss back to Cunningham. Fires deep, got Moss, 10, 5, touchdown, Vikings!
Well, we playing today. You ain't got to worry about us. No, don't you worry about us.
Here's Cunningham back to throw it and going deep, and he's got Moss, and there's a flag on the play. Moss has caught the pass and is in the end zone anyway.
Randy Moss is amazing. Randall Cunningham is amazing.
Now it's going to get fun because they got a pressure. So there's going to be some flash lightning calls in the huddle.
Cowboys showing blitz. Minnesota. Randy Moss breaks a tackle, and Randy Moss races down the sideline, and Randy Moss just outruns everybody into the end zone. He is incredible. Rookie of the year,
After scoring 50 points versus Jacksonville in Week 16, the Vikings were within reach of 3 milestones in the final game of the season.
Time for big dogs to hunt. Time for dogs to hunt. We're out here Tennessee hunt, baby.
The Vikings' 556 points were the most ever scored in a season. Even kicker Gary Anderson was able to achieve something that had never been done before.
Gary Anderson
will go down as the first perfect place kicker in NFL history.
Let me tell you guys, we have the 3 teams that have been 15-1 in the history of the National Football League. All right? Give yourselves a round of applause.
In the division playoffs, the Vikings had too much firepower on both sides of the ball for the Cardinals to handle.
Oh, here we come! Oh, here we
We knew if we did not make the Super Bowl, it was going to be a disappointing season, and obviously, you know, we all know what happened.
Here goes the field goal try by Mort Anderson. The kick, wide, no, it's good. The Falcons have stolen the thunder from the Vikings. They win it in overtime, 30-27. It's like getting punched in the gut for Viking fans, not only in the stadium, but all over the United States.
The turn of the century marked the changing of the guard. The veteran quarterbacks Dennis Green had entrusted his offense to gave way to a young, mobile, rocket-armed Dante Culpepper.
But your tight end, the guy covering him is a much better athlete than he is.
First down, goal to go. Short drop, Dante calls his own number at the 5, and he's in for the touchdown! Touchdown, Vikings! Culpepper for 7 yards!
In his second NFL season, Culpepper threw for over 3,900 yards and 33 touchdowns.
Culpepper looks to throw. Got time, looking, cocks and fires this one to Moss at the back of the end zone. Touchdown!
15 of those found the hands of Randy Moss. 9 of them were cradled by Chris Carter.
You got to bend him at 10 yards, bend him out. He's going to be already in 2 man. Dante, look that safety to hatch it. And if NFL films, touchdown, put it on.
Fourth quarter, the game tied presently at 17 all. Culpepper, who wants to throw, cocks and fires it deep to Moss. Downfield! It is.
He's got it!
Where did he get it? Touchdown, Vikings!
The Vikings were 11-2 and on their way to another NFC Central title. But 3 straight losses to end the season and a devastating 41-point loss in the NFC Championship game put Dennis Green on the hot seat. Minnesota began 2001 planning to walk the road back to the playoffs, but instead was blindsided by the sudden passing of Pro Bowl offensive tackle Corey Stringer.
Don't talk about it, be about it. Don't talk about it, be about it.
You got everything I got to give. You got everything I got to give.
To honor the competitive spirit of their friend and teammate, the Vikings retired his number 77 jersey on the night of a highly anticipated rematch with the team that destroyed their Super Bowl hopes.
The Vikes will be seeking revenge tonight against a New York team who crushed Minnesota last year in the NFC Championship game.
I remember it being so personal.
We knew we had a better team than what we had shown in that 41-0 blowout.
The season is in the balance for both teams tonight. And it didn't take Minnesota long to take it right down the field and score against the Giants.
The Giants didn't stand a chance, literally, against the motivated Vikings.
They had the same team, we had the same team. We wanted to just prove to everybody that we can beat them.
Here's
College to throw. Pressure again. Throwing to the end zone. Intercepted. Robert Griffin back the other way. Deep drop by Dante. Over the middle, it's Moss. At the 35, running to the 30. They will not get him. To the 10, to the 5. Goal line, touchdown, no flags. Culpepper to Randy Moss for the third time tonight.
As satisfying as the win was, it didn't translate into success. After enjoying 8 winning campaigns together, the Vikings and Dennis Green parted ways before the last game of a disappointing 5-11 season. Minnesota found its 6th head coach in-house, promoting offensive assistant Mike Tice in January of 2002. His intense sideline demeanor seemed perfect for drawing out the team's full potential in the newly minted NFC North.
You're not getting any push. No push at all. Hey, Todd, let's go. Start wearing that guy's ass out. Come on. You better run the ball or we're going to get our asses kicked.
According to Tice, the need for discipline wasn't confined to the field.
No cell phones in the locker room. No hats in the meetings. Can't be in the meetings without a notebook. Can't be in the meetings without something to write with. Can't leave your playbook in the locker room at night. No cell phones in the cafeteria. No hats in the cafeteria. You can't take food out of the cafeteria. We're a family should eat together. I will not settle for anything less than that we need to pay attention to detail. That's where the intensity comes from.
Go Big Daddy!
A former tight end, Tice was a well-entrenched member of the Vikings family. Although he once played beside Minnesota's most prolific wideout, he wouldn't get a chance to coach him. Chris Carter retired in early 2002 as the team's all-time leader in receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns.
We're here to honor one of the greatest Vikings in the history of this great franchise. Chris Carter, it is our pleasure today as we retire his number and as we enter him into the Ring of Fame. Drop the banner, please.
Most players won't say this, but I'll tell you, I miss you. I miss playing with you. I miss running out there. I miss it. Dante and Randy, you guys take it from here. It's y'all's show.
Stop right now.
After struggling for 2 seasons, the duo put on quite a performance in 2003.
Culpepper's looking for Moss, passing to Moss, touchdown.
Culpepper and Moss on that drive were flat out dominant.
That was one of the greatest catches Randy Moss has ever made.
Culpepper moves it right side, Moss caught, great catch, touchdown! He's the best in the game. 15 seconds to go in the first half. Culpepper's going to hurry. A better pass protection scheme this time. Dante rolls out to the right. 5 seconds to go in the first half. Dante fires deep to the left. Moss caught it at the 11, but now he... Oh, look at this! Williams! Touchdown! You gotta be kidding me!
What happened? I didn't see the play. I was yelling timeout.
I thought he was back.
The improvisation of Randy Moss would win him an Academy Award.
That was unbelievable.
Time out.
I don't care what anybody says. I have never seen a play more heads up than what Randy Moss just did.
We don't stop. We keep fighting. Nah.
Hoping to retake the division in 2004, Dante Culpepper embarked on the best season of his career.
Robinson left. Do we smell a fade? Loops to the left side. Touchdown. Culpepper out of the shotgun. Design roll right. To Moss. Caught. Touchdown. Culpepper steps up. Deep. Left side. Kelly Campbell. Caught. Touchdown. And Dante has thrown a career best 5 touchdowns opening day. 2004.
Numbers favored Culpepper that year. Not even losing Randy Moss for a month could curtail 11's staggering stats.
Culpepper out of the shotgun, rolls right, fires to the end zone, caught, touchdown! Dante Culpepper has thrown himself into Vikings immortality. That sets a new Vikings single-season record.
That record was 39 touchdown passes, and it went along with his league-leading 4,717 yards and a third trip to the Pro Bowl.
And this game ball been fighting all year, been making plays all year, been the leader on the field, the intensity that he brings to the table. Dante Culpepper!
The division was lost in 2004 on 2 last-second heartbreakers to the Packers.
The kick is up, and the Green Bay Packers have won the NFC Northern Division title.
Minnesota may have been deemed a wild card come playoff time, but Dante Culpepper was honed in on Green Bay.
A day of redemption is here for the Minnesota Vikings.
We've been started up the ground, baby!
It didn't take long for the Vikings to lay claim to Lambeau Field.
Culpepper, fade, right, Moss, single coverage, caught, touchdown! And the Vikings, in 5 minutes and 10 seconds, lead 13-0. Well, I'm not a Minnesota Vikings historian, but this has to be one of the greatest starts in Minnesota Vikings playoff history. 2nd and 1 from the 18. Culpepper back to pass, shoots it over the middle, caught, touchdown! Nate Burleson! He's killing the Packers this year.
Ain't a nerve in this league cover us one-on-one. It can't happen.
A can't-do attitude was imposed by the Vikings defense as well.
What we talked about that, we want to hit this guy, right? I ain't interested in any bats. I want bodies hitting number 4. Okay, he's already thrown us some. He'll continue to throw to us, and we keep hitting. Make no doubt about that one at all.
Blitz is on, fires in, intercepted. And he threw his 4th interception, picked off by Brian Williams.
The magic of Culpepper to Moss spelled the end of the Packers' playoff run.
Dante gets off the play, takes a snap, rolls out to the right. Moss, wide open, he burned Al Harris. Touchdown! Oh my, yes!
Although it was the Vikings' final victory that year, Minnesota achieved the status of last man standing in the NFC North. Throughout 2005 and 2006, the faces of the franchise started to change. Some were familiar. Others brought a fresh look to Minnesota. But the Vikings got a new head as well. The team was bought by real estate magnate Ziggy Wilf in 2005.
So he's like a super fan. He gets so excited about the things during the week and learning about football. I think he loves being around the sport in general. It's good to have somebody that's genuinely interested in it.
Within his first year, the new owner was interested in a new direction for his team.
Please welcome the new head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, Brad Childress.
As steward of this great franchise, I'll do everything I possibly can, along with our staff and players, to bring an NFC championship and a Super Bowl to the people of Minnesota. We'll be like Vikings. We're going to go ashore, burn the boats, and never look back. And we're never looking back. Today, we go ashore.
To shore up their offensive line, the Vikings plundered Seattle for perennial Pro Bowl left guard Steve Hutchinson. Together, Hutchinson and tackle Bryant McKinney formed one of the best left sides in the NFL.
Man, you can just see it. You guys are wearing them down. One more drive and it's over. Put together one more drive.
Matt Burke's 6 Pro Bowl nods in his 10 years with the Vikings tied Mick Tingelhoff's record for Pro Bowl appearances by a Minnesota center. The decorated line was certainly appreciated by running back Chester Taylor, who rushed for over 1,200 yards in 2006.
Handoff Chester Taylor on first down from the 5-yard line. He'll bust it out to the left. Now he's loose to the 20, 30, spreading in front of the Seahawks bench. Michael Boulware tries to run him down, and Chester Taylor is gone. A 95-yard touchdown. Woo!
Despite the success of Minnesota's ground game, one of the Vikings' greatest conquests came in 2007.
With the 7th pick in the 2007 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Adrian Peterson, running back, Oklahoma.
Adrian Peterson would go on to shatter both Viking and NFL records, become Rookie of the Year, and earn MVP honors at the Pro Bowl. But he gained his coach's approval before any of his laurels.
He's a great kid. Smile on his face, wants to be a great teammate, wants to contribute, works hard. If we can get him sprung once or twice, we'll get a chance to see him.
The rookie was spring-loaded against San Diego.
He breaks the tackle, and Adrian Peterson is loose. He has scored a 65-yard touchdown.
Peterson, every time he touches that ball, man, he is just magic.
Able to combine his explosive skills with some of the league's best run blockers.
And I can't remember the last time I saw a hole that big for a running back to go through.
Peterson earned a vaunted spot in the NFL record books in just his 8th game.
And there he goes! Inside the 20! Touchdown! 296 yards for Adrian Peterson. The greatest rushing performance in the history of the National Football League.
I've had the opportunity to block for some pretty good backs in my career, and Adrian's up, he's the top.
And I'll tell you what, he's good.
The best running back in the National Football League.
It's amazing.
He hits the hole hard, and it's fun blocking for him.
Hey, don't look for the home run in every play. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Got 3, 4, take it. It'll come. You'll bust one out.
Handoff to Adrian, cuts back to the left of the 35. Now he speeds through the defense, and Adrian Peterson is gone! Touchdown, Vikings!
My mentality is to get in the end zone every time I touch the ball. You know, because I hate to lose.
I think the sky's the limit. Yeah, I realized at a young age that, God blessed me with a tremendous talent. And, I've always looked forward just to make sure I maximize that. I try to be the best, not only the best at my position, but the best to play the game.
Our time to shine. Show people we for real.
Football's a physical game, so if we can have a kind of a hitch in the mouth type of defense, I think it'll speak for itself.
Joining the Vikings in 2005, safety Darren Sharper's 18 interceptions in 4 years spoke loud and clear.
Intercepted! It's Darren Sharper, and he's going to fly to his 8th career touchdown!
Hey, come on, that's too easy. That's too easy.
Looking left, steps up, passes over the middle, intercepted! Darren Sharper!
Alongside Sharper in the backfield was Antoine Winfield, whose aggressive play made him one of the most feared cornerbacks in the league.
Can Antoine Winfield do anything else to will this team to a victory?
And that's what a superstar does. He doesn't just make the sack, he forces the fumble and recovers it. What a fantastic play by Antoine Winfield.
A huge run-stopping, brawling group of players out there.
Talking about the defensive line. Those guys rush the passer. They're the guys that start the havoc, start the frenzy. You can't run it anywhere. You can't pass it if the quarterback's sitting on his rear end.
Boom! Sticks him.
Moving ass all on the field today. Hey, something bad happened. I don't come back to the ball and ball out. Ball out on 3. 1, 2, 3. Ball out.
Nose tackle Pat Williams was signed in 2005 for his ability to sniff out the ball carrier, leaving opponents with nowhere to run.
Pat Williams was right in the mix, wasn't he?
He was the guy in the backfield.
Yeah.
Hey, can't stop me.
Pat Williams is saying, if you're going to cut block me, you better bring a knife.
A knife? You need a chainsaw to knock that guy down.
The other half of the Williams wall, 2003 first-round draft pick Kevin Williams, anchored the Vikings' formidable front.
Come on, Kevin! Show him what you're made of!
Once Williams has his hands on you, you're going down, my man.
I'm not a real excited guy, you know, but when we play on Sundays, I'm real excited. I play with my hair on fire.
Harrington out of the shotgun on third down. Big rush, hit as he throws. Intercepted by Kevin Williams. And he's gone. He's to the 20. 10. Touchdown! The identity of the Minnesota Vikings may be its defense. And one of the best in the game, Kevin Williams, gets the first touchdown of the season.
The Vikings' identity got a big infusion of personality in 2008.
Let's go, G. Let's go. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I feel the need for speed. Woo! Give to them nothing. Take from them everything. How about the guy at the Vikings game with a Joe Montana jersey? The guy there with a Joe Montana jersey.
No one wanted to be wearing a quarterback's jersey when defensive end Jared Allen was on the field.
Under duress, sacked! It's another safety, Jared Allen! Sacked! Ball game! I think it's Jared Allen again! Just a beast, always getting the sacks, and Kevin Williams, that pressure up inside. What a fantastic duo we have in the two of them.
When we step on the field, we don't care where we're at, who we're playing against. We want to choke the life out of you. I came to be on which I think is the best D-line in the NFL. Sacked quarterback and just overall help us win championships.
It can't be no individual stars. Everybody got to be on the same page. You can't think you're bigger than the next man next to you. And that's what's so good about our team. We all play as a team.
By 2008, that team had led the NFL in stopping the run for 3 straight years. It was the play of the defense that sparked the defining moment of the 2008 season when the Chicago Bears had first and goal from the 1.
Come on, baby! You learned this thing.
Third and goal, handoff, fullback Davis. He didn't get it! The Bears are going to go for it. Fourth and goal from inside the 1. Kyle Orton takes the snap, gives it to Matt Forte. Up the middle. He didn't get it! No! They stop the Bears from first and goal inside the 1. Great defense by the Vikings. Let's get some momentum in here now.
That's the way to love what you do. Keep doing it. We're going to smash that thing on face in if they want to run that ball. They ain't going to run it.
The Vikings have it first and 10 at their own 1. Farad takes the snap. He's back to pass out of the end zone. Fade left. Man wide open. It's Berrien. Caught. A goal line stand turns into a 99-yard touchdown. The Minnesota Vikings have taken first place atop the NFC North.
Big one for us right there. Headed towards our goal, NFC North champion.
Defeating the Giants in what would be their final victory of the year. The Vikings celebrated their first ever NFC North title.
That's a step, winning the NFC North. And obviously the ultimate goal when you start is to win the Super Bowl, not go to the Super Bowl, not to be division champs, not to be NFC champs, but to go to the Super Bowl and win it.
By 2009, Brad Childress knew what was necessary to make a legitimate Super Bowl run.
Obviously improving our pass offense to make it commensurate with our run offense.
The first step was signing a veteran quarterback. Of course, the Vikings didn't pick just any gunslinger. This was the Big Cheese himself. And that's not exactly a term of endearment in the North Star State.
Favre having a hard time hearing the call now.
The idea of Brett Favre in purple and gold had the endorsement of the Vikings faithful.
Come on, Brett!
I love to watch Brett Favre play. He's outrageous.
But that didn't make his arrival at Winter Park any less surreal.
It was kind of just a weird feeling, you know, like, all right, how do I talk to him? We've been, mortal enemies, so to speak, for so long. Brett's caused me a lot of heartache through my career, that's for sure.
It didn't take long for the future Hall of Famer to win over his new teammates.
He has a way of bringing everybody together just by being himself.
Yeah, man. Good job, Brett. The Silver Fox!
Free me.
Yes, sir.
To have a proven guy at the quarterback position that's led in every capacity he could lead at, I mean, it was only right for us to put it all together, and we went out and did that and had success with him being our quarterback.
We want to be a good team, a great team. We got to kick ass every week. You don't make we play.
Week after week, Favre and the Vikings found a way to win, earning a 12-4 record and their second straight division title.
Third down, 12 seconds to go in the game. Niners lead by 4. Favre back to pass, pumps to the left, 8 seconds left. He gets away from the pressure, fires to the end zone. It's caught! It's Greg Lewis! Touchdown! Oh my heavens! Oh my heavens! Greg Lewis's first catch has given the Minnesota Vikings an improbable victory. No flags on the field. Brett Favre, Greg Lewis. How do you like that? Drop, looking deep, bumps. Now he's going to fire center of the field, and it's caught. It's a 51-yard touchdown by Percy Harvin. There were no less than 4 Cleveland Browns who had clear opportunities to tackle him, and Adrian Peterson just refused to go down. Back to pass. He's stuck by Jared Allen. Lieber gets him in the backfield. He dropped the ball, and Chad Greenway recovered it. Vikings ball. Playoff football in Minneapolis is in the air. Romo on 3rd and 14 steps up. He's sacked, and he dropped the ball. And the Vikings, Kevin Williams with the fumble recovery. Let's go. And Favre goes back to pass. Deep right side, Sidney Rice single coverage. He caught it inside the 10. Touchdown. Brett Favre indeed will pass. Back to pass, fade left. Shanko diving. Catch, touchdown. The Minnesota Vikings have destroyed the Dallas Cowboys 34-3 and are on their way to New Orleans to play in the NFC Championship game. Handoff, Adrian up the middle, bumps it out to the left to the 15, sprints inside the 5, and the Vikings strike first. Pumps, fires, caught, touchdown! It's Sidney Rice. He goes back to pass, pumps, he's hit, it's on the ground, he dropped it! Intercepted. I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. We are going to overtime. We have a coin flip coming up soon.
I mean, to actually, in every aspect except the scoreboard, dominate the game and then to come out on the short end, it was pretty tough pill to swallow. And we just have to use that as a building block.
In the birth of a new season.
I'm looking forward to seeing what they do.
Vikings are warriors, conquerors. Just as it had for 5 decades, this battle-tested franchise entered its 50th season, believing the NFL's ultimate prize would soon be in its grasp.
you have to think Super Bowl or nothing this season. I mean, we got all the guys in place. To be oh so close, you got to think Super Bowl.
We're looking forward to, at some point, bringing Lombardi Trophy back to Minnesota.
Guys have gotten so close and had such great teams here. Nothing would be sweeter to kind of go out there and bring a ring to Minnesota, bring the trophy home to here.
The pot of gold is there at the end of the rainbow for the Minnesota Vikings if they want to go get it.
We don't give a damn what happened next week, what happened last week. It's all about right now.
I go to the games. I'm a fan because I want to see my team win a Super Bowl. Because if they win, I win. We'll win it someday.
We're going all the way. Back on 3, 1, 2, 3. Fight.